that are like, hold up, what's the justification? Lock in. There is no justification. Not only does it not matter what he said, but also, why the are you caving to the framing that they're presenting to you? They're liars. They're lying. When have they said the truth? Wake up. This is why the right wins all the... What is this thing? Bro's a joke and an embarrassment. The fact that anyone listens to this sex offender pedophile is crazy to me. Off forever. Hasan will never be a target of the current administration because Hasan and other tankies like him, majority report people, Brianna Joy, the Vanguard, TYT, etc., have no desire to actually pursue real political power. They just make commentary on the left that is majority designed to attack the other Democrats. People like Hasan play an important role in the current power structure to keep the left weak and divided. You are telling me not to disregard Hasan, while at the same time Hasan is saying I have a line with fascists who I constantly and always been at odds with. Sam Hyde, Fuentes, Trump. Stop falling for this bait is so stupid. Wait, what? Dog. Okay, we got to roll the clips here, right? Give me the clips of him sitting there and platforming Sam Hyde. Sam Hyde talks about how he wants to kill me.
Is there somebody that you like really want to do something with if you had the opportunity to?
Yeah, I have to fight Hassan Piker. You know who that is?
That's my arch nemesis.
By the way, at this point, he was real sweet of him to say that's my arch nemesis. I never talked about him at that point. This is before he decided to be pro-Israel. Okay?
No idea.
Okay.
I created Hasan.
Well, you created him. I have to kill him.
Well, if you're trying to fundraise for that, I would absolutely help you. He's been training.
I've seen his training videos. It was illuminating to watch him kick the pad with such ferocity.
Well, you have to sound scared, okay? You don't want to.
So we raised $2.5 million that Hasan could have donated to a charity of his choice if he won a fight with me.
Oh, damn. And he turned it down.
He ignored it, yeah.
I think if he lost to you, I think he would kill himself. I think he would commit suicide.
It's a huge risk. It would be the end of his...
By the way, both of these dudes, I didn't know anything about this dipshit at all at the time. Everything I've learned about this freakish monster has been against my will, okay? And not only that, but also they just literally designed this entire universe in their minds of this, like, Hasan is so terrified of me, I'm going to kill him and all this shit. Okay. Meanwhile, now they're the ones crying. They're like, oh, I can't believe the violent rhetoric coming from the left. Remember, pedophile, neo-Nazi. Destiny knew he was a neo-Nazi. Probably didn't know he was a pedophile. Not that it matters to Destiny either way. But just make no mistake.
Existence. I would try to give him irreparable brain damage, and I'd keep punching him until I got pulled off by the referee. I would try to hurt him as bad as possible.
Why do you hate Hasan so much?
It's just, with him, it's like he was sitting in his car, like pouting, basically, and he took his soda and held it out the window, and he went like this, and like slowly poured it out, which was very weird.
Okay.
His use of steroids, his bodybuilding activity, what that is it's part of an implicit statement that my ideas are correct because I can physically overpower you, right? Like he's the left-wing alpha male. And that's the way it should be. The weak should fear the strong. They should obey people who are stronger than them. However, if he's not willing to back it up with his fists in a fight with me, then it's completely useless. All that effort that he puts into developing.
The dude in the white hat is a loser who ruined his shot at any kind of fame because he loved Nazis so much. Also found out later that he's a pedophile on top of that, but he briefly had a run. He had a brief run with Adult Swim, and he lost it because he just kept being a Nazi. Also, ugly as sin, as you have seen. Once again, another master race guy that just, looks like that. Okay. I'll let him. Dude, I'll let him. And probably the worst version I've ever seen of a dude who has abused a significant amount of steroids and still looks like absolute dog shit. Okay? Absolute dog shit. Also, here's Destiny talking about Nick Fuentes and how Nick Fuentes should be worshiping him because at a time when no one wanted to touch him because he was an irrelevant little Nazi loser, Destiny gave him a lifeline for his career.
His treatment of me is so bad. I don't understand. That's something he'll have to learn and grow. Not to sound like, not to be too self-aggrandizing, but like, Fuentes should be worshiping me because I am literally, I was the only lifeline that he had to like being able to breach like mainstream political conversations. Like I represented a huge potential opportunity to him, and he just was so bad faith in the way that he treats me. It's unbelievable. I don't know why the he would do that. Like he should have been so conciliatory towards me. And I'm not looking for that. I'm not asking him to be my bitch or anything. But for him to be like relentlessly bad faith against me all the time, I'm like, bro, who the are you? Like I can put you on a stream in front of 14,000 people. Like I'm giving you your phone number to like Adam 22 so you can go to a show. Why the would you like burn my shit so hard? Like you're so stupid. But again, like all of that risk is non-existent. I know that there are some people now who are thinking that like, oh no, like Fuentes is going to get huge off the no jumper shit. No, he's not. He has no social media presence anywhere. Like he's been destroyed. Like he's not growing. It's not going to happen.
Here's them being friendly on stream.
I hang out with children.
Well, you know, they're hotter.
Let's
Destiny, children are hotter than adults. Nick Fuentes, base, let's go. That's why we love Destiny. That's why we love this guy.
That's why we love him. That's why we love him.
Eating PB&J at his house.
Good wife. So I got
Some highlights from their debate. They also went later for chicken and waffles and ice cream. Reminder that Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi that's previously called for Jews to be executed.
peanut butter sandwiches.
Whoa! Is it for him?
For both.
Let's go.
Isn't
Thanks.
that what it's for?
What?
Isn't that what a wife is for?
That is absolutely.
It is.
See, you got it made, bro.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Good job.
Let's go. You got
Mel.
it made. Hell.
Hold on. Mel,
Dabbing a neo-Nazi up.
Let's go.
why do we
Wow,
get peanut butter
thanks.
sandwiches when you have Nutella in the cabinet?
Oh.
It's healthy. You want to? Okay. Really?
No, that's okay.
He's
You're gonna
laying
be
down his law.
really? You're
No,
gonna
it's
tell
okay.
me to make another?
What's crazy about this is like, I don't know why he thinks he can get away with lying like this. Like all of this shit, even his audience is aware of it. You know what I mean? Like his audience saw it and celebrated it at the time. What is this about? Ryan Beard saying, I didn't say who should be pandering to who. I said that it was dumb for Destiny to hope that Trump takes Hasan out. I'm not asking Destiny to pander to Hasan. I'm asking him to not promote authoritarians coming for Hasan because that's not going to help liberals whatsoever. To which he, once again, comes up with this. Hasan will never be a target of the current administration. Literally been detained by Customs and Border Patrol. Okay. And then packages it up by saying like, I actually have no interest in like doing real politics, simply just shitting on the Democrats. Again, interesting, but projection. He has no interest in helping anyone at all, but simply exercising his petty agendas. People like Hasan play a role in the current power structure to keep the left weak and divided is also ridiculous. When I worked on a mayoral campaign, you guys are Mamdani. When Destiny did, you got humiliated. Make no mistake. When people found out that Destiny was backing a mayoral candidate in Nebraska, the dude had to literally resign in disgrace, I think, from the race. You are telling me not to disregard Hasan, while at the same time Hasan is saying I have aligned with fascists who I have constantly and always been at odds with. Sam Hyde, Fuentes, and Trump. Stop falling for this bait is so stupid. Last but not least, I obviously talked extensively about how his podcast co-host, so we can have a little bit of plausible deniability, has actively worked with the Republican administration and Republicans even before they won power to try and deplatform me. The very same Republicans that are coming after him now. Oh, this is what I was looking at. Yeah. After cutting ties with controversial streamer, Gudgel staying in the mayoral race. Stephen Bonnell II, known as Destiny Online, is a controversial past, and Gudgel apologized for not doing his research. So the notion that these guys, the notion that this dude hasn't done, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for the record, in terms of him directly aligning with fascists. I mean, he openly tried to help Lauren Southern, another famous white nationalist, for those of you who don't know, who is, I guess, fallen from grace now. But he basically was helping her change her commentary or try to like make sure that she could have a career still. I think he was trying to her at the time, or did her at the time. I don't know what white nationalist Destiny hasn't, but he was laundering her image. And all the while, his community would push back against this kind of stuff and he would just ban them. People would be like, dude, what are you talking about? Nick Fuentes is a Nazi. He would defend the principle. He would say Nick Fuentes is not a Nazi over and over again. So now for him to stand around and act as though this was not something that he was doing for years and years is really rich. Really, really rich. It is objectively untrue. Of course his son became a Groyper in the aftermath of all of this. He was left unrestrained and unrestricted in his Discord server that is filled to the brim with a lot of these people that he had collaborated with. People that actually didn't even change their ideology all that much. People that he thought he was converting away from right-wing neo-Nazi sentiment while simultaneously arguing about how white people should be able to say the N-word and numerous other things. He's saying this because he officially nuked any chance of rebuilding your bridge. What do you mean rebuilding this bridge? It's been 6 years of relentless one-sided cyber stalking, chatters. The only reason why I ever even recognize his existence is because he decided to be the mouthpiece for Israel. Ironically enough, that's the person who is another one of his orbiters that Ryan Beard is responding to. I don't know. They're talking about SPD and KPD. They're saying that the SPD and KPD weren't infighting. The KPD wanted liberal democracy to fall just as much as the Nazis did, blah, blah, blah. He's just saying that the communists were wrong, relitigating the communists and how wrong they were for actively taking the fight to the Nazis. Incredible stuff. So your perspective that it was good for the SPD to put more focus on the fighting with the KPD than the Nazis. All right, I disagree. I prefer communism over Nazism. Yeah, Hasan should have told his audience to vote for Kamala. That doesn't mean I'm going to focus more on how bad he is than I focus on Trump. When did I say that? If you're focused in the U.S., of course your main target should be Trump and MAGA. I'm arguing that if you want left unity, the ones who didn't try to keep fascists out should be pandering to the ones who did, not the other way around. I didn't say who should be pandering to who. I said that it was dumb for Destiny to hope that Trump takes Hasan out. I'm not asking Destiny to pander to Hasan. I'm asking for him not to promote authoritarians coming for Hasan because that's not going to help liberals whatsoever. I agree that it won't help, but your original point is reading like both groups have an equal onus to change. Most liberals already focus on Trump and getting people to vote, whereas more far left alt media spend the last 2 years trashing the only party that could beat him. Once again, none of this actually factors my commentary into this. Out of all of these parties that are having this back and forth, this conversation, I'm the only that went to the DNC. Perhaps there's a reason for why I was invited to the DNC, okay? I'm the only one who actually went to the politicians and communicated the anger and frustration that the people were feeling. I tried to get them to change their messaging. I did my very best to make sure that they did not align in ideology with the right wing. But obviously, I'm only one person, and nobody gave a shit about my commentary in this regard. I kept calling it out over and over again. I said, this is going to most likely be a dangerous gamble and cause Kamala Harris to lose. And lo and behold, she did lose. So all of these people that were wrong professionally, I cannot understand how they have they have no sense of shame whatsoever that they were professionally wrong and they still think it was actually somehow my fault. It is completely ridiculous. While they were busy covering drama, actively looking for any angle of attack against someone like myself, instead of actually covering the election cycle to their audience, because the only thing that their dumb audiences care about is not the actual news, but instead the drama associated with their favorite newscaster that they despise. I was actually doing the work. I was covering the news. I was talking about the dangers of Trump. I was talking about the dangers of right-wing ideology. What the were you guys doing? Defending Israel. And in moments where you're not defending Israel, like the IDF sniping children, I guess covering the petty drama associated with me, like how some Destiny stalker approached me at the DNC or whatever the That's it. That's the difference. The reason why I don't hyper focus on these losers on the edges here, the slop tubers, because I feel like the moment requires a little bit of restraint. Roka telling you were right when you were ringing the alarm bells of the DNC.
I feel like I was ringing the alarm bells.
You were right.
And
you were ringing it on Gaza.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it feels like it came true, and now we are staring down the barrel of unlimited control in a very scary way. The erosion of due process, the erosion of the First Amendment.
Yeah, I know he said you were right. Rokan is one of the people that I talked to before the election and warned, and one of the people I talked to after the election. Every single thing that I said was going to happen is taking place. But because these guys are so egomaniacal, so narcissistic, that instead of just like quietly changing their positions and refusing to consistently try to reheat drama, they think they can just get away with yelling about me to an increasingly smaller audience that doesn't want to hear it. They don't get it. They don't get it. Like, their own audiences are probably at this point being like, dude, give up on this, please. Like, what the like lock in. The Trump shit is way more significant. What are you doing? You are deeply unserious. And that's precisely what Ryan Beard is doing. I don't think he's a big fan of mine. I think he has also been very critical of me and time again. But he's one of those people that's just like trying to explain to these people, like, please focus on Ryan Beard. I did not know that. I forgot that their preferred pronouns are they, them. Okay, regardless, like they're doing that. They're like, hey, man, lock in a little bit. There's like, don't you think that there's a more imminent threat here? And these dipshits are still doing this. I mean, even Ryan's last note here is, I agree that leftists are the main ones that need to focus more on Trump. But I also think that a lot of liberals have been spending way too much time attacking leftists. I think the priorities of both groups have been skewed. I don't do that. I don't do that at all. Okay? I don't do that at all. The reason why I don't do that at all is because that's ridiculous. Of course, I've never stopped focusing on Donald Trump, and I never will stop focusing on Donald Trump. He is the gravest threat. But for people like Destiny, they use it as an opportunity to present it as though people like Destiny, they present it as an opportunity to, what do you call it? To shit on the left, to shit on people like myself. Where was the original tweet? I can't find it now. Someone linked it to me originally. How do we start off with this? I forgot to read the OG tweet. Leftists are the ones who are taking it to the streets, and they never stopped. Whether it be resisting against the genocide under the Biden administration or under the Trump administration, or whether it be the continued resistance against the Trump administration for ICE and numerous other reasons. It's just so strange that these guys try to present this false narrative. Oh, this was the original off of the Destiny tweet. Hasan will never be a target of the current administration. I already have been, dumbass. Said, bro's a joke and embarrassment to the fact that anyone listens to the sex offender pedophile is crazy to me off forever. This man platformed Fuentes and was upset that Fuentes was grateful to him. He said he'd vote for Trump over Hasan. He did. He spent the last month before all of this stuff happened with Charlie Kirk. What was the main thing that these dipshits were arguing about? How Destiny thought Trump was someone he would vote for instead of someone like myself. There were so many different debates. How productive. And that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough for these delusional losers to be like, hey, I don't think we're serious or sincere about the ever-present danger that is imminent. You only do that if you just want to debate, and you only do that if you are worried about how to present this person that you have decided is your primary villain. I think he literally said he'd choose Hitler over me. Pastiny's co-host and best friend has spent the best part of the 2 years desperately trying to deplatform Hasan. He also Lawrence Southern. His son's a Nazi. Sex Pestiny has more heat for Hasan than any of these individuals mentioned above. He's a vote blue no matter who. No moral compass or ideas, just vote Dem. Isn't it funny that Hasan was at the DNC and Sex Pestiny was nowhere to be found? I wonder if it eats away at him that he's a lol cow. What publications that interview Sex Pestiny or serious politicians that have appeared on Sex Pestiny's show? That's it. It's just so frustrating. I don't know why he's trying to engage in this like very insincere reputation laundering when I think most people in his fan base are completely aware of what he's been up to for the past couple of years. It's just like, I guess the difference between like someone you can get a restraining order for engaging in cyber stalking and someone who can't do that is if they have a platform that's big enough, you know? Yeah. Like if people can't comprehend in this moment, especially, that this guy is primarily invested in entertaining his own personal vengeance quest over anything else. If people can't understand that when like fascism is imminent, it's happening around us right now, and this dumb is still being like, oh, Hasan is the reason, Hasan sucks, while simultaneously presenting someone like myself as a bigger threat to America than the Donald Trump administration or even Adolf Hitler, then yeah, I don't know if you'll ever figure out that this person is a deeply insincere person, you know? It's just so crazy. These daily segments, these segments isn't productive either. It's the same rehashing, brother. Hasan was just talking about how Trump is the main focus. I agree with that. That's why the same rehashing of some dumb ass like D isn't the priority. Imagine saying one disagreement, leave. Hasan is talking about needing to unite. I will never unite with Destiny. The best thing he can do is basically stop attacking me and privately live out the rest of his days in shame. Do you understand? Are you insane? Yeah, let me unite with the cyber stalker with a cult that has been up my asshole, literally aligning with Republicans and neo-Nazis for the past 6-7 years at this point, that has tried to actively deplatform me, demanded doxing his enemies, whether they were formerly his allies or not, to turn around and let me just sing kumbaya with that guy, who's also a serial sex pest. Get the out of here. Go deal with him. Tell him to be productive. Tell him to lock in on the real dangers instead of, once again, refusing to let up. He said he would become a Trump supporter if Trump takes you out. His politics is just Hasan. Exactly. And for a lot of child-brained losers out there, that unironically is all it takes. And he's played a formative role in creating this environment of people that just like professionally misunderstand me. Okay? It was a dedicated effort, a fairly sophisticated smear campaign that has taken years and years. Whenever you see a random dipshit out in the wild who's like, Hasan is pure evil and his politics are the worst thing I've ever seen, Nick Fuentes is better, that's, you could thank Destiny for that. Many of those guys also don't stay on Destiny's side. They come in for the resentment towards the left that he foments, and then they become Asmongold fans, or even go beyond Asmongold. They become Nick Fuentes fans. His son is a great example of this. He has played a formative role in Twitch becoming as right-wing as it has. He destroyed a subreddit that people used to go to figure out what the f was going on Twitch. Live stream fails. It's unusable now. It's literally owned and operated by one of his orbiters. That's the main mod. They did a hostile takeover over it, and they just use it as a fleshlight, basically. Anytime they want to clip something out of context and complain about it and just try to boost it into r/all. Anyway, we're moving on from this shit because it's utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. But, you can get a tiny number of people that are incredibly dedicated to do this kind of boosted smear job over and over again. It works. There's not anything you can do. Basically, all your ops use these clips out of context materials and farm money off you. Exactly. And all the while, what do you think is happening in the secondary market? Okay? It develops a cottage industry of fuck us on content. But what you fail to recognize is all of those slop tubers who do that kind of easy commentary because there's clicks to be had, that use Destiny's community as a resource with all of the clips that are designed to portray my position, my worldview in the most negative light possible. Those guys also develop deep resentment to the left without even recognizing why they have that deep resentment. But many of you don't understand it. Many of you don't comprehend that. Anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump now.
Renewed his call to pull the broadcast license of television stations that broadcast criticisms of him. This week, ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely after the late-night host commented on the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Kimmel has not commented publicly, and his future at the network is up in the air. But on Friday, workers were seen loading trucks outside the Hollywood theater where Kimmel's show has been produced since 2003. As Nancy Cordes reports, his suspension has sparked a debate over free speech that's stretching far beyond the late-night world.
With Jimmy Kimmel off the air for a third straight day, the fallout is growing. Film and TV writers protested outside ABC headquarters in New York, even as President Trump warned he may go after other networks next.
The newscasts are against me. The stories are 97% bad. So they gave me 97. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad. See, I think that's really illegal, personally.
Kimmel's late-night counterparts rallied to his defense and engaged in some mocking self-censorship.
President Trump just wrapped up his 3-day trip to the UK, and he looked incredibly handsome.
On Friday, Michael Eisner, the former CEO of ABC's parent company Disney, slammed his successors, posting, "Where has all the leadership gone? Who will step up for the First Amendment?" Disney suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live on Wednesday for these remarks.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
The suspension came just hours after Trump's FCC chair, Brendan Carr, appeared to threaten to hold up a major affiliate deal over Kimmel's comments.
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz called Carr's warning, quote, dangerous as hell.
That's right out of Goodfellas. That's right out of a mafioso coming into a bar going, nice bar you have here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
But other conservatives argued Kimmel had it coming.
I don't feel sorry for him at all, and I think that Disney did the right thing.
Trump's
Real
distaste
populist,
for
Josh.
Kimmel's brand of comedy dates back years.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel's a loser.
Trump has slammed him on social.
Right populism hasn't been tried yet. It's gonna work this time, okay? That's a real populist man. He's really got his ear to the ground, you know? That's what a working man cares about. Cutting Medicaid in his state and to the tune of $800 billion at the national level, and also complaining about Jimmy Kimmel. Hell yeah, brother. You did it, dude. I love how much of a populist that guy is.
Social media at least 16 times since 2020.
Thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still. Isn't it past your jail time?
For CBS Saturday Morning, I'm Nancy Cordes in Washington.
In these very troubling times, we hear a lot of talk about freedom. So let's say a word about freedom. We now have a president of the United States who just the other day said, and I quote, I have read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. End of quote. Really? Mr. President, that's not freedom. That's authoritarianism. Last I heard, under our Constitution, which you swore to uphold, the American people are allowed to criticize the president. The media is allowed to criticize the president or anybody else. We now have a Trump-appointed Federal Communications Commissioner, FCC, named Mr. Carr, who celebrated getting Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air and then threatened other shows saying, we're not done yet. Hey, Mr. Carr, that's not freedom. That's precisely what happens in authoritarian societies. So let us be honest, let's be clear about what is going on. Trump has sued and tried to intimidate ABC, CBS, the Associated Press, PBS cut their funding, NPR cut their funding, anybody who covers him critically. And just the other day, he filed a $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times. They got Stephen Colbert off the air. They got Jimmy Kimmel off the air. And we are seeing Trump's friends now take over CBS and maybe CNN. Freedom of the press and our First Amendment is...
The only thing, didn't Kimmel... Dude, shut up. No, he didn't. And even if he did, it doesn't matter. Not only did he not do that, he described objectively what the right did, which is spend every waking moment trying to put distance between themselves and the shooter, saying that the shooter is anybody but their guy. This is true, okay? But also, even if he was literally saying like he was MAGA, he's MAGA, he loves MAGA. No, there is no real reason to justify it. Please, I need stupid liberals to understand sometimes people have insincere demands, okay? They have insincere demands. They have insincere petty grievances that they cannot enforce as a petty grievance, so they try to masquerade it as though it's a sincere demand. And I'm gonna need you to wake up real quick. I cannot believe it, bro. There is always that are like, hold up, what's the justification? Lock in. There is no justification. Not only does it not matter what he said, but also, why the are you caving to the framing that they're presenting to you? They're liars. They're lying. When have they said the truth? Wake up. This is why the right wins all the time, because there's so many squishy liberals out there. Maybe not that chatter. He said he's locking in, but there are so many squishy libs out there who are like, hold on. Maybe this is a sincerely held belief that they are demonstrating. No, it's not. They just want power. They want to throw you in prison. Wake up. Just like whenever they talked about how much they hate cancel culture, they just mean they want to do that to you. That's it. They don't want to be canceled. They want to cancel you only one way. When they say they love freedom of speech, no, they just mean they want to be able to say slurs and no government intervention whatsoever, which shouldn't exist anyway. I also agree with that. But they will always take advantage of any opportunity like this one to use the federal government to silence you, to silence the political dissent, no matter how illegal it is. God damn. People need to lock in. Please lock in. Wake up. They are not playing on the same playing ground. When have they said the truth? If one side is consistently pointing to the rule book and going, wait, this is not in the rules, and the other side keeps violating the rules, which side do you think is going to win? The side that keeps yelling at the referees when there's no referees left? Or the side that is winning by any metric necessary? How many more years do we need to have of Republicans just doing this over and over again, and then liberals going, hold up, maybe this is sincere. Hold up, maybe they have something here. This doesn't mean that there is no productive element to utilizing the pre-existing rules to stop the administration. Counters, okay? Put them under a mountain of litigation. What are we doing? Stop them at every step of the way. If you don't use the established rules that exist already to prevent further encroachments, then those rules will be cast aside. You will erode the institutions if you don't fight back to at least defend the institutions. This is a problem that I have with liberals. There's never been a moment where they have any sort of like sincerely held beliefs beyond petty grievances they have that like liberals and leftists don't like their worldview. Oh my God.
What sets us apart from tin pot dictatorships. That's what our kids learn in the 4th grade. But apparently that is not the case anymore. What's going on right now sounds more like Vladimir Putin's Russia. It sounds more like Mohammed bin Salman's Saudi Arabia. Under Trump, we are seeing a very strong movement in this country toward authoritarianism, and his attacks against the media are part of that process. So let me make a simple request of my Republican colleagues. If you don't have the guts to stand up to Donald Trump and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, please just stop using the word freedom. Freedom is not just saying nice things or agreeing with those in power. Freedom is not just flattering the President of the United States and telling them how great he is. Freedom is the right to express your point of view, no matter what that may be, without government interference. Maybe what you're saying is right. Maybe what you're saying is wrong. Maybe what you're saying is brilliant. Maybe what you're saying is dumb. But in the United States of America, what our Constitution is about is having the right to say it. And we must not allow anybody to take away that basic freedom, that most important freedom, away from us. There is a reason why freedom of speech is the First Amendment to our Constitution, not the 5th, not the 10th. It is the First Amendment because the founders of this country, correctly, in their wisdom, knew that you cannot maintain a free society without the right to speak openly without fear of intimidation. That's what they understood then. It was true then. It is true today. So let me conclude by saying this. I don't care what your political point of view is. If you're a progressive, great. If you're a moderate, great. If you're a conservative, great. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're independent. It doesn't matter what your political point of view may be. This is the moment, no matter what our politics may be, for us to stand together and protect our Constitution and the fundamental freedoms that make us a great country. Thank you all very much.
A top federal prosecutor resigning following an extraordinary pressure campaign from President Trump. The president furious.
Okay. God's through China versus Russia today for Fun Day. We'll do it.
He was unable to find enough evidence to bring criminal charges against one of his political opponents. Eric Siebert, Trump's hand-picked U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, spent 5 months investigating New York Attorney General Letitia James over accusations she committed mortgage fraud.
I am not following it very closely. It looks to me like she's very guilty of something.
But after speaking to more than a dozen witnesses and pouring through loan documents, investigators came up empty, unable to find evidence that James knowingly falsified records to obtain better loan terms. Trump claims he ousted Siebert because he was supported by Virginia's 2 Democratic senators. But sources tell ABC News Trump has told top administration officials he wants to install someone who will prosecute James. ABC's Jonathan Carl pressing the president.
So you want him fired? You want him out?
Yeah, I want him out, yeah.
James has denied any wrongdoing, and in a statement to ABC News, her lawyers saying Siebert's ouster is a, quote, brazen attack on the rule of law. Now, I'm told this decision has left one of the top federal prosecutors' offices in the country, tasked with investigating some of the most high-profile terrorism and espionage cases, in a state of crisis and confusion. At this point, there is no clear person in charge of the office and no clear path forward. I'm also told the president still has no plans as to who will take over. Janae?
In a state of crisis and confusion. Catherine, thank you for that.
His was a leading role in the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University last year. And now Mahmoud Khalil is facing deportation again.
Bro,
a U.S.
Bro, for the record, we're going to obviously talk about this as well, but like that is so perfectly Trump. He comes in, he's like, I don't give a about your job as like the counterterrorism bureau or anything like that. Just prosecute a political enemy of mine. Okay? Just go after someone who embarrassed me. Because that's Letitia James's crime, is that she actively pursued Trump and it embarrassed him. Okay? She successfully pursued Trump and prosecuted Trump. And that was up. So now she has to be punished. So you go back, you become president, and you're like, no, I don't care about anything. Just find something. Just find anything you can. And the guy goes in, he looks for it, and he can't find even like mortgage fraud, which is crazy. Not even a little bit. And the reason why I'm using that language right now, the prosecute now language, is because Trump, especially now that he is surrounded by his most loyal sycophantic orbiters, has gotten a lot more comfortable saying the quiet part out loud. And partially because his brain is mush, I think. But this last version of the prosecute my enemies now is right here. Trump criticizing Pam Bondi for not charging his adversaries quickly enough through a Truth Social post that looks a lot like a DM. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. Attorney of Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do the job. That's why 2 of the worst Dem senators pushed him so hard. He even lied to me. He even lied to the media and said he quit and that we had no case. No, I fired him, and there is a great case and many layers. And legal pundits say so. I mean, I think he means lawyers. Lindsay is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. President DJT, he it up. He was so horny to get this out that he like misspelled and stuff, which is crazy. Go ahead, guys. Tell me how there must be like some sincere request here. Maybe Trump, the real estate developer, actually cares about mortgage fraud quite a bit. Yeah, he especially hates mortgage fraud. As a real estate developer, he would never entertain that. That's what it must be, right? He hates it. And not because it's like one of the most common things that rich people do, including himself. He probably knows from his own personal experience that he knows that's like the best angle of attack. And even in this case with Letitia James, it didn't even work, it seems. Perhaps that's the reason, you know? There is, at a certain point, you have to be like, all right, you are not a trusted resource for information, right? Like the state of Israel comes to mind. After years and years of lying, at a certain point, you got to be like, all right, man, I can't trust you. Like, I can't trust you anymore. You've lied to me too many times. Same goes for the Republicans, okay? There is no reason to assume that whatever the they're presenting is the gripe here is a sincerely held grievance. It is just a weaponization. It's manufacturing outrage and then weaponizing said manufactured outrage against their political enemies. They do this all the time. So you are under no obligation to try to sincerely understand where this resentment is coming from, as though there is some real wrong that must be corrected. Okay? You can sometimes say, I don't think this is valid. I do it all the time. You should too. Let's get back to Mahmoud Khalil.
Immigration judge in the southern state of Louisiana ordered Khalil to be deported to either Syria, where he was born, or to Algeria, where he holds citizenship.
This court finds that respondent willfully misrepresented material facts for the sole purpose of circumventing the immigration process and reducing the likelihood his application could be denied.
A permanent resident of the United States who's married to a U.S. citizen and is now the father of an American. The threat of deportation has loomed over Mahmoud Khalil.
Here's another great example of the Trump administration routinely lying, but also trying to present it as a sincere request or a real slight or a real injustice that's taken place. When Mahmoud Khalil was detained for deportation, they didn't even know he had a green card. They thought he was on a student visa. They didn't know he had a green card. They didn't know he was married to an American citizen with a child on the way. They thought he was just on a student visa and they could just quickly write off his student visa. For what? For the crime of doing what? Criticizing Israel. They lied and lied and lied every step of the process. And now they are adding more post hoc rationalizations and post hoc justifications as to why they must deport him. The post hoc justification here is, oh, he lied on his application. You are under no obligation to take this seriously. You can look at this as an indecent lie that was tacked on after the fact, because the goal here is to punish people for being anti-Israel. That's it.
Khalil since last March.
You're going to be under arrest.
When federal police arrested him and sought to deport him. He spent over 100 days in jail as part of the Trump administration's wider crackdown on pro-Palestinian activism on college campuses. While in detention, Khalil missed the birth of his son. He was released last June after a New Jersey judge said his detention was unconstitutional. Now facing deportation again, Khalil said his right to free speech is being infringed upon once again.
It is no surprise that the Trump administration continues to retaliate against me for my exercise of free speech. Their latest attempt, through a kangaroo immigration court, exposes their true colors once again.
ACLU lawyers for Khalil said in a legal petition that they are appealing. The wider free speech implications of his case are also slated to be examined by a federal court in New Jersey.
Yeah, they were forced to release Mahmoud after imprisoning him unjustifiably, and now they haven't let up. They're still looking for reasons for deportation. It's completely ridiculous. It's gross. It's monstrous. It's inhumane. And in the absence of pushback, it will go through. We have to stop it. We have to fight back. Everything that you hold near and dear will be taken from you by this admin, okay? If you don't do something and you just sit there and watch from the sidelines, eventually when they're done with Mahmoud Khalil, they'll come for you. Mahmoud Khalil has been doing politics the right way by exercising and defending free speech rights and having public policy debates on campus with a hostile public. His reward hasn't been hagiography. It's months of unlawful attention and retaliatory threats of deportation. Look, there's still, like, as a foreigner, he doesn't have the same rights as Americans. He could go to Algeria, say anything he wants. He does. He literally does. You do not know the Constitution. What is this? We got to figure out how to win Joe Manchin back.
Of the Democratic Party seems to be going the way of the Democratic Socialist Party. That's a different party. Bernie Sanders always said, I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. Exactly right. He's a Democrat socialist. I caucus with the Democrats, he said. He ran as a Democrat, but he's a Democratic socialist. Now, Mandami in New York, he is a Democratic socialist also, not a Democrat per se. We only have two parties, so you get in that bit. But here's what you have. I'm just could I ask the question?
Yes.
Is this where the Democratic Party is going? Is the whole Democratic Party going to be the Democratic Socialist Party?
No. First of all, we are a long way away from 2028. We are not at 2026. We have not had any party primaries. Okay. We are talking about two people who have very compelling messaging strategies and have gotten rightfully a lot of attention for them. But don't think that defines the Democratic Party, which, by the way, is at this point the pro-democracy party. It is a tent big enough. It is big enough to have Liz Cheney and AOC. That is unwieldy tent. It is very, very, very big. And part of the problem is the Democrats.
Bro, what are we like? It's okay. It's okay to not have Liz Cheney in the tent unless she's preaching the gospel of socialism. Okay? Even then it's okay. Because she has no motion. She has no motion. who you align yourselves with and who you position yourselves against matter when it comes to branding, and it certainly matters when it comes to elections. If you are obeying in advance, or if you are bringing on Liz Cheney without even demanding any concessions from her, then you align with her. It's that simple. And you don't want to align with Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney also is a loser, a whole ass loser. Nobody cares about Liz Cheney. The last election cycle showed that. The only people that care about Liz Cheney hate Liz Cheney. And we're like, Liz Cheney and the Democratic Party. I don't want nothing to do with this. I just don't understand it. They're like, oh, we really need to, like, dude, I don't have a lot of emotion. I think it's really stupid when liberals turn around and say, Hasan, you held the keys to the, you could have played a pivotal role in winning the election for the Democrats, but you criticized Kamala Harris and you lost the election. It's like, I don't think that's true. You have to be an idiot if you think that that's real. Having said that, there is one person that I definitely have more emotion than, and that's Liz Cheney. I will stand on that. I will say that if there was a person that I had more clout over, if I had more influence over aspects of the Democratic Party's base or the broader American public, is Liz Cheney, which isn't saying much, but it surely shows how busted the priorities of the Democratic Party was, don't you think? We should not be having this wide tent that even features Liz Cheney because she's not worth it. And she's not even bringing that up because she loves Liz Cheney. She's bringing that up to say, look how wide our tent is. Look at how welcoming we are. Okay? The problem there is you're just hailing bipartisanship and compromise as a virtue. And if you are not extracting anything, if you're not extracting any concessions, if you're not extracting any propaganda from your previous enemies in the process, then you're not doing anything. You're just propping them up. That's the only thing you're doing. I think you're great, but I don't think you're famous enough to turn an election. Libs are just coping. Of course I don't believe that. What are you talking about? Obviously, I don't believe that either. It is the dumbest thing that liberals say online about me. No, my point was, while I don't have, obviously, the motion to swing the outcome of an election, otherwise Bernie Sanders would be president, okay? I do have more motion than Liz Cheney, but that's not necessarily a way to beef up my influence either. I'm not even saying that I have that much influence. I just have more influence than Liz Cheney because she has none.
Have so many people inside the tent and so much chaos happening on the political landscape, they do not know which direction they're marching in. But woe to anybody that is trying to write the epitaph for the Democratic Party.
Well, let me just say this. I was a Democrat all my life. They better figure out how they lost people like me. Okay? And the only thing I have said, when you quit worrying about the working person, their working conditions, you're worried more about a person that's able-bodied and capable of working that won't work versus me who will work, there's something wrong.
I can't say what I want to say. I think charlatans like Joe Manchin that don't toe the party line and basically would be irrelevant if they were Republican, but only are relevant as a disloyal Democrat at times, are some of the biggest scumbags. If we were to do a party purge, it would be the Joe Manchins, which he already purged himself, obviously, but like the Maggie Hassans and the Kirsten Sinemas, again, another person who purged herself, the John Fettermans, like the people that simply sit there and go, well, if you want every single judge to be signed in, I'm there for you. But every other major piece of legislation, I will undermine. I have no power if I'm not a Democrat. Because if he was a Republican, he's just another dipshit ass Republican. But as a Democrat, he is the most effective because he can play the role of a spoiler. That's the way he gets into committees. That's the way he gets a shit ton of lobbying money. That's the way he gets to cut out side deals for his immediate family members so that they can get a better deal farming the remainder of wealth that is captive in West Virginia. That's what he does. That is all he did. That's all this asshole did his entire career. I hate these so much. The fact that he just tries to present himself as like being blue collar and like caring about the working class is disgusting. It is a disgusting lie. God, I hate them so much. I hate Joe Manchin. Oh my Lord, I have so much smoke in my heart for Joe Manchin. If you guys recall, I literally said Joe Biden should have arrested and prosecuted Joe Manchin's immediate family on Pod Johns. And John Lovett was shocked. You give me the keys to the castle. Watch what I do to these disloyal Democrats. You understand? Watch what I do to these who won't even let the most modest reforms take place without getting a piece of the pie. Oh, yeah, I would run on a anti-corruption platform and I would advocate for, yes, Chinese style reform. Oh, you got an issue? You're going to jail. Okay, sorry. Because the reality of the matter is these guys are all transparently corrupt. The corruption is a part of the process. But corruption also means that you are malleable. Corruption means you can be forced to do the bidding of the administration. I'm not saying turn a blind eye to corruption, but in the interim, you can make an example of those who are corrupt. You can make an example of those who are corrupt by pointing to the rule book and saying, see, here's where you violated it. And now chickens are coming home to roost because you did not play ball. You have found me at a very Chinese point in my life. I think we're all going through a very Chinese point in our lives. Manchin is horrendous, but I couldn't stand that we can't get anything done because of Manchin rhetoric, as if there's no such thing as political power. No, I know. I have smoke for them too. Don't worry. Are you kidding me? I yelled about it every day. See, this is the problem with a lot of people that actually don't watch me other than like watching 20-second clips. I'm an autistic loser when it comes to politics and when it comes to other shit too. All I give a about is politics. So those dipshits that think, oh, Hasan is pie in the sky ideals, like he's just a tanky, he's always making the perfect, the enemy of the good, blah, 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 all this shit. They don't watch me, so they don't know. I talk about process all the time. I have Mr. Process, David Dayen, on with regular frequency, okay? David Dayen of the American Prospect is Mr. Process, okay? And as an autistic, hyper-fixated loser on politics, for years, I yelled at the institutional Democrats that would not threaten to revoke committee positions from the likes of Joe Manchin and numerous other people. When push came to shove, I talked about how bad it was that they were constantly gridlocking themselves, and that actually ran protective cover for the Republicans who would have never voted for these bills anyway, or if you somehow magically were able to pass this through, they would vote against it and then take credit for it after the fact, which they did. I gave numerous examples of how Joe Manchin, for example, is so weak that he could be manipulated into playing ball with the admin, as he is supposed to. He can do it the easy way. He can do it the hard way. The hard way would be punishing him for his numerous different proclivities, him and his immediate family alike. Anyway, important to understand that the scramble to throw abortion, trans immigrant rights under the bus on the supposed altar of savvy, pragmatic compromise is 100% because they see it as the only place you go to pick up votes when left economic populism is 100% off the table. Yeah. Ezra Klein says, the more worried you are about authoritarianism, the more willing you've got to be to run pro-life Democrats. Oh my God. In red states. Oh my God. 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 That's not how this works, man. This is not a popular position in this country. Are these guys just paid to lose? Like, what is happening? Ezra Klein is supposed to be this brilliant liberal. What? I'm going to have a seizure, bro. It makes no sense. Ezra Klein says the more worried you are about authoritarianism, the more willing you got to be to run pro-life Democrats in red states. I think they happen to be higher now, and I do think a lot of what is happening in terms of the structure of the system itself is dangerous. I think that our hour is late in many ways. My view is that a lot of the people who embrace alarm don't embrace what I think obviously follows from that alarm, which is the willingness to make strategic and political decisions you find personally discomforting, even though they are obviously more likely to help you. Adam Johnson says, important to understand that the scramble to throw abortion and trans immigrant rights under the bus on the supposed altar of savvy, pragmatic compromise is 100% because they see it as the only place you go to pick up votes when left populism is 100% off the table. And he is right. It's actually with left populism that you're supposed to build a robust coalition of people who come on board who otherwise wouldn't on key culture war issues. If you make the argument, do you want healthcare? That means trans people are going to get it too. What do you want more? Free healthcare or to punish trans people? You force people into that position to going, honestly, yeah, I think free healthcare is pretty sweet. I don't give a shit about trans people all of a sudden. That's the point. That's how you build a broad coalition on class-first politics. The problem is liberals don't want to do that. Liberals want to engage in uneven grounds on every single issue because the culture war is designed to be inherently reactionary. So if you are playing in their playing field, you are destined to lose. And these guys also openly don't mind lying. So even if you're playing in their field, you could at the very least try to engage in counter messaging, talk about how racist and pieces of shit they are. Talk about the humanity of the immigrant neighbors that we have. Talk about the much better pathway to solve this problem that many Americans actually think is better, like mass amnesty, conditional amnesty, right? Meanwhile, they are abiding by a position that doesn't exist. There is no pro-life Democrat. A pro-life Democrat is going to lose votes because there are a lot of pro-choice Democrats that are not going to want to vote for that guy. Because they're gonna be like, ew, what? Why is this the guy I'm voting for? And they're not going to win a single Republican because they're pro-life. If you're pro-life, you are already significantly more mentally ill than the average American. You are at the heart of the Republican Party's core base of support. You are one of the most insane people on the planet. This doesn't mean that you think abortion is murder, but you also think that the government shouldn't intervene in this. If you feel that way, then congratulations. A lot of people feel that way, okay? They vote Democrat. But what I'm talking about is people who vote on behalf of the abortion is murder, so we need to combat it party. They're not voting for the Democrats. They're going to say you're a gay libtard, and they're going to go vote for the pro-life Republican instead. Shut the up. This is how Kamala Harris lost. Why? If you're a Republican, why would you want a diet version, dude? Why wouldn't you want the full strength soda? You are much more willing to compromise with your side of the ideological spectrum than go to the opposition side. The irony, of course, is yes, they would most likely win over Republicans, just like Zohran Mamdani did, if they were to do broad, sweeping economic reforms, an anti-corruption campaign that focuses on punishing the wealthy, focuses on extracting these resources back, clawing them back from the hands of the select few in society, back to a more equitable outcome for all Americans. You run on that shit. Republicans are going to be like, you know what? This is a different kind of Democrat. Maybe not as gay and libtarded as I previously thought. I might vote for this, even though he wants gay people to have health care and trans people to have health care too. This is why there's been such a push lately to create space for taking on woke sacred cows, Abundance, Searchlight, Newsom. They're trying to reconstruct 1990s Clintonism of culture issue triangulation and corporatism because everything is up for debate for corporatism. This is one of the few instances where I actually slightly disagree with Adam Johnson because that never went away, okay? That never truly went away. That was always the beating heart of the Democratic Party, okay? But because they respond to like broad public sentiment shifts, like the only thing that changed and made society a little bit more woke, I guess, was in the Obama era with Obergefell, right? Like outside of that, they still immediately were like, maybe we went a little too far. Let's just scale it back. There's an obvious path for Dems to win back the working class, but Shore's poll-tested faux populist rhetorical box-checking notwithstanding, it's off the table for places like CAP, Center for American Progress. Majority Democrats pack big donors because it would radically undermine the way they all get rich. And pussy too. Yeah. Conservatives don't know that taxing billionaires is leftist. They don't know that universal health care is leftist. Conservatives just know those policies make sense. Exactly. Let me be queer. Breaking. Many Dems are now leaning towards a Harris-Buttigieg ticket in 2028. What's your reaction? It's important that Democrats never learn anything for our entire lives. It's so funny because they performed spectacularly poorly in the 2020 primaries. God, we are a party of losers, bro. The Democrats are such losers. When I say we, I mean like the broad left, all the way ranging from like blue dog Democrats and establishment Democrats down to like Maoist third worldists, like this broad anti-Trump coalition of people that are aligned in and want to resist against like the fascist encroachment in this country is unfortunately only represented at the political level by some of the stupidest losers of all time, some of the biggest losers. Oh my God, Lenin would be disgusted. Lenin would spit on us. He would. God, I hate this shit. It's just the reason why it always feels like there is no positive solution here is because we don't have any good leadership, man. We don't have any leadership whatsoever. Abortion rights are beating Kamala in every single state that voted on them. Progressive policies aren't electable. Unpopular Democrat politicians are. But yeah, ask Ezra. Real centrism hasn't been tried, guys. Okay? Real centrist liberalism hasn't been tried. If we just slap on a new patina to it, call it abundance, we can do it. Okay? We can do it. How can you look at this and see it as anything but a controlled opposition party at that point? I'm sorry. It truly feels to me like billionaires are farming these different initiatives on the Democratic Party to ensure that Republicans, whenever they're in charge, deregulate and cut tax for the wealthy. And then Democrats rarely ever present an alternative to that. And when they actually do win power somehow, because the Republicans suck ass, okay, when they come into power, God forbid, they claw back any of those deregulatory aspects of the economy. Holy Today I went to Democrat Representative Tim Kennedy's campaign volunteer meeting. It was shocking how much progressive language there was on their campaign flyers about billionaires and oligarchy. But when JVP put his feet to the fire about going to Israel 2 months ago, he could not call it a genocide and lost the room entirely. Everyone was screaming at him. Yes, Israel in this regard, by the way, is the perfect way to communicate earnesty. Okay, that's it. For many Americans, obviously, for many Americans of good conscience, Israel is a very important issue. But outside of that, even for people in the margins who think like, oh, this is really f***ed up, Israel is the best way to show that you are earnest, to show that you are honest, to show that you are unyielding, you are uncompromising. It automatically classifies you as a different kind of politician. Lenin warned us. Oh, I know exactly what this is. Yep. My goat, Patrick Stewart, as Lenin.
Could get help from one of the groups in the liberal movement.
No, don't trust the liberals. They will betray you.
Lenin. Don't worry, on Tuesday it's all over. Christian Talk thinks the rapture is happening on Tuesday, by the way. Oh my God. Imagine. Looks like leadership will be AOC in 2028. Cooked. Dog, I'm going to keep it $150 with you. Okay? For all of the issues, this is an endlessly better alternative than any other thing that you could present for the Democratic Party's future. Okay? I just hope that she is way more unyielding if this were to happen. She needs to be uncompromising. She needs to be unyielding. She needs to be a real fighter. Like no triangulations. You can stand on the issues that you care about in the same way that Bernie did, right? Nearest Cope on this is a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes economic populism popular. Expand intent with economic populism. It will require you to turn against your corporate donors. Economic populism is good, but you should also acknowledge working class voters are not as a whole left on cultural issues. Senator Sanders has. Dude, these guys don't understand. The argument is you give voters things, okay? You give voters something that they want. Right now, you're giving them nothing that they want. And also on top of that, presenting a unfavorable position on culture war issues that they either don't give a shit about, so you look like a fool, or they actively despise because they're insanely bigoted and they'll never vote for you anyway. Okay? If you offer them a carrot, then they're way more willing to look the other way about the trans shit. I'm so certain of this. I'm so certain of this, dude. I promise. Like, I'll give you an example. Do I believe that there are people who might not be like super on board with Zoran's version of being on that Israel tip? Okay. Do I believe that there are people out there in New York City that might not fully agree with what Zoran thinks about Israel? Absolutely. But those people, you know what they want? Fast and free buses for sure. So they make that calculation. Democrats demand loyalty without any assurances that they'll do right by their voters. It's so stupid. The idea that Republicans win because they have tremendous loyalty that they've generated from their base without giving them any treats is idiotic. Republicans are able to give their base treats all the time. They literally will withstand political and social punishments as a consequence of this. Look no further than the 40-year project to literally overturn Roe v. Wade, which was an established super precedent. Okay? That was a gift. That was a present to their most loyal fans. Okay? because they reward that loyalty. The reason why Republicans got so mad about the Jeffrey Epstein stuff is because for the first time ever on a culture war related issue, the Republicans said, no, you're not getting this actually. Better things are not possible for you. Something that we promised you we're not going to give. They were like shocked. They were like, what? What's going on here? It was a confusing moment for many of them. They do that. And because they do that successfully, then their voters will forget. Their voters will forget about how they didn't actually fix the prices at all. Liberals don't want to give any treats whatsoever to the base. Kamala Harris says she called Gavin Newsom for an endorsement after Biden's exit, but he brushed her off with a short text. Governor Newsom replied, hiking, will call back, and never followed up. Oh, that's... God damn, he is so gruesome. Oh my God. That's because him and Nancy did not want Kamala Harris to be the replacement. That's why.